I'm now joined by Erol Morkoç, a spokesperson for Republicans overseas. So, Erol, what is it? Diplomacy, 10 days notice, or a strike at the weekend?
Well, I would say that clarity itself isn't aggression. We have put very clear red lines on the situation. You can't obtain nuclear weapons. You're not going to be able to affect trade routes, and you're certainly not going to put American people or service members' lives at risk. Those are hard red lines. Regardless of regional stability, this is a show of force. And it's a show of force especially because the F-22 Raptors have been forward deployed. And this is an American-only plane. This is what escorts the B-2 bombers. This is a absolute strike aircraft, not an F-35. This is to take down any remaining forces. You have so many tankers, so much naval power there. And then you go back and you look at what we did in Venezuela. And Maduro, he called our bluff. And what happened to him? We picked him up and plucked him out of there. Now, would it be quite the same situation in Tehran? No, I don't think so. But do they want to find that out? Do they really want to play a game with a man who has the capability to do this on multiple fronts? And as you saw, the Iranian president come out and say, China effectively has abandoned us. They promised to finance this, finance that. Iran is encircled. Every one of their enemies, by the way, it's not just America who's rooting for this to happen. And from Ankara to Tel Aviv to anywhere, people are eagerly waiting for the fall of this regime. So the only chance they have here is to make a deal. And if they don't make a deal, I think President Trump is going to strike them hard and quick. And it's going to be one of the most revolutionary changes because that will preeminate the fall of Cuba. And we would have had Cuba, Iran, and Venezuela go down within about 90 days.
Let's talk about Iran, Erol, because Iran is insisting it has the legal right to nuclear enrichment, and Trump warning of potential strikes. Are we witnessing a diplomatic standoff at the moment? And what can bring this deadlock to an end? You said Iran making a deal, but it appears that Iran thinks they're within their right for nuclear enrichment for domestic purposes.
They probably are in their right if we trusted them. If they were the type of people who were enriching uranium for domestic purposes, they, of course, wouldn't be enriching it to 60%. There's no reason to enrich to that amount. Certainly, they would have had certain other capabilities they would be building, maybe nuclear submarines, but they're using diesel submarines. Very clearly, their entire situation is to create enough nuclear material to have a counterbalance threat against Israel and on the region. And when you look at the clerical 12er Shia Islam and the Armageddon-style sort of diplomacy that they're conducting, you have to be very conscious of what they are bringing to the table. And their requests for a civilian program, once again, are valid if we trusted them. We don't trust them. We think they're lying. And if they're not going to surrender the remaining nuclear material, I think that we will have no choice but to go in and remove them.
The US, as you did mention to me, has moved around 50 extra fighter jets and other aircraft towards the Middle East this week. As Donald Trump said, that Armada is on its way, and we've seen a lot of it arriving there. What are Trump's military options in Iran? Reports suggest the US could try to influence government change from the air. What else could possibly be on the table?
Well, complete air supremacy is guaranteed, but more importantly, what can we do on the ground? It's much better that this comes from an internal situation. Are there people inside Iran who are willing to step up and do what's right to overthrow the yoke of the tyranny they've been under since the Islamic Revolution? If so, can we find those people? Can we work with them? CIA, Mossad already is in the country, has been operating in the country very long. You have a situation where half the country is not half, nearly is secular minded, and so it's not very hard to find allies inside that situation. The last thing we want, though, is a large-scale invasion of troops on the ground. This would be a situation where we are taking out top-level leadership and or allowing them to flee to safe haven. But it's coming down to the wire, and right now, unless Iran is really going to step into negotiations, I think that they might entrench themselves and try to hold out, and that's going to be the end of them.
Erol, I have a good friend who's from Iran, and we met over the weekend and we were talking, and her sister lives in Tehran. And she tells me the stories that her sister tells her about what's happening in Tehran. But she's so frightened, the sister, on the phone that they have to speak in code. It's very difficult for the people in Iran at the moment after that crackdown due to those anti-government protests, which Donald Trump said help was on its way. And it never came for those people. And it's very difficult for the people of Iran to keep on going and keep on striking because they know the consequences are so deadly.
That's very true, and I think anybody with a heart goes out to that situation. President Trump certainly felt that he came as close as he could regarding maybe stopping the execution of hostages. I think clearly that didn't go far enough, and those people were left kind of in the wind there, and that certainly wasn't something that was a good situation. So I'm not here to defend every single thing that the policy decision that we make on the fly. Those words were taken perhaps in a more literal sense. As we're coming later on with the Armada, though, we can say, look, help is on the way. Perhaps we were presumptuous in hoping that you would have overthrown that government in that time period. Also, the crackdown that occurred, I mean, it sounds kind of, heartless, but that does further delegitimize the government. So I think the most important thing here for American officials and American people when looking at this is that the Iranian people are our friends. The Iranian people are victims of the situation. Even if they're not victims, we are not trying to kill civilians or anything. What we're trying to do is remove the threat of nuclear war in the region, remove potentially one of the biggest sponsors of state terrorism in the region. And that can be done with precision accuracy. So I think the Armada is coming. That help is coming. Did we come up a little bit short on that situation? Yes, absolutely. And to your friend and her family, that's a failure on our part. We definitely need to own that. But it doesn't mean that America has given up or will give up on this situation. I think President Trump is proving that with the current show of force and or potential strikes this weekend.
Erol Morkoç, great to have you on the show. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.